welcome to another episode of Innovator Chat, a new series under TTG Conversations, where we sit down with tourism businesses in Asia to find out what creative solutions have helped them survive in our new world. I'm Pamela Chow, and today we will be speaking with Dr. Cheng Wen Haur, Deputy CEO and Chief Life Sciences Officer at Wildlife Reserve Singapore. Hello, Dr. Cheng. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Pamela. Thanks for having me.
So WRS is the operator of the world-famous Singapore Zoo and of course Jurong Bird Park, River Safari and Night Safari. And although COVID-19 has plugged the flow of leisure travel into Singapore, our wildlife parks here have embarked on some adventurous programs to draw domestic demand crowds back to the wild side, even when everyone had to stay indoors during our circuit breaker period. So Dr. Cheng, can you please start off by telling us about these programs that WRS has launched?
Yep, sure, with pleasure. So maybe a bit of a background for our viewers. So we are a mission-led organization. Our main purpose is to protect wildlife. And the main way we do that is actually by connecting people with wildlife. So during normal times, people come to our parks, have connection with animals, and then we raise their awareness to get them to be involved with us in protecting wildlife. So during circuit breaker last year, no one can come to our parks. So that even in our parks, only essential staff who are looking after the animals and the essential infrastructures in the parks can come back to work. So what we ended up doing then is that, the whole commercial team working from home and connecting with our keepers who are still at the zoo. Now that people cannot come to our parks, we actually decided that, we'll bring our animals to people's living place. So that is, the genesis of Hello from the Wild Side. So we've always had a group of animals that we call program animals. These are special animals of a relevant species and individuals that we use special positive reinforcement techniques that allow the animals to be, participate voluntarily to come close and have close encounters with people. So with this group of animals, when we create these programs, Hello from the Wild Side, people can dial in from their home, from their schools, from corporate boardrooms, and then, our animal carers can, have interaction, doing some enrichment activities, saying a little bit about our animals and bringing wildlife and, animal interactions in wherever people are virtually.
And how about this other program that is called My Animal Buddy? How did that one work?
Right, okay. So Hello from the Wild Side was actually, spur of the moment that we really need to be able to, continue to connect people with wildlife. My Animal Buddy is actually a program that has been in incubation for the past few years. Once again, if you think back to what we want to do is to actually connect people with wildlife. And for a lot of the school children in Singapore, they would have, the experience of coming to our wildlife parks, and many of the grown-ups probably would have fond memories when they were young. They came to our park as well. But unfortunately, the downside of that is that for them is probably half a day of very fond memories of coming to our parks. So My Animal Buddy is really to extend that connection of school children's with our parks and with our wildlife, so that they, before they come to our parks, they can actually join this program. My Animal Buddy is essentially that we created a whole number of animal buddies that school children can choose to join, to say that that's my buddy. And then what we will be doing is continuously giving an update of how the buddies is coming along, so that while the children at school or at home can continue to have this connection with the wildlife, as if that they're keeping a pet, but not quite a pet, but they're following the growth, the development, and trials and tribulations of the animals with our park, so that it keeps our park top of mind to them. But very importantly, from a education point of view, that we really want the children to grow up, having this compassion for wildlife, for living things, and overall, to grow up to be a better world citizen.
Kind of get them invested in the wildlife and the fauna of Singapore as well.
Correct. So My Animal Buddy, certainly, during COVID-19, it actually really accelerated the development. So as I say, they've been in incubation for a while, But just because that, during that period, no one can physically come to our parks, we just basically, accelerated the development, and we've actually managed to launch it last year in October. And since then, we've had, close to 50,000 subscribers, children. Now they're following, one of several animal buddies.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so out of all of this guest participation, which animals or which habitats have you seen that were the most popular among your guests?
Well, in terms of animal buddy, one of the most popular animal buddies we have would be Pedro the sea lion. So he's got a very interesting backstory to him. So at one stage, Pedro the sea lion actually had to undergo quite a serious eye surgery. And we actually shared that, with all his human animal buddies out there. And during that period that, he actually gotten a lot of well wishes from children writing in to wish him well, that, to say that please be brave, and, we will, our thoughts and our prayers are thinking of you. So luckily that, he went through the eye surgery really well, and then we shared the good news with his buddy. And since then, he's got a really great following, and he's got a lot of, wish you get better letters to him, and many children following that, actually come to the park specifically to look out for him, to see him as well. So that's really what we want to do with My Animal Buddy, right? So linking children virtually to one of the animals in our park, and then to bring them back to our park.
So I'd like to dive more into, the development of these programs. And can you tell me a bit more about, when did the discussion for these programs start, and what's the process like of creating and eventually launching them?
Right. Hello from the Wild side actually started, basically, let's say necessity is the mother of all invention. So during it actually was launched in May, and of course, if you can remember, circuit breaker started the beginning of April last year, so that, because visitors cannot physically come to our park anymore, and so the marketing people have to be coordinating with the keepers who are working in our parks to say that, they're creating this program, and then once the sort of booking channel is firmed up, the concept is firmed up to say that, which animals can be used. And we actually, do some testing with our internal customers first. And in fact, because only essential workers can be in the parks, and these are only the animal carers, not only do they have to be the host and doing enrichment activities with the animals, and the animal carers also have to be the cameraman and light and sound person, so all in one as well. So that was the genesis of Hello from the Wild side. Certainly it was pushed out very quickly during the circuit breaker period. Since then, when the rest of the team, the supporting team, can come back to the park, we have then refined the offering a little bit better. With regards to My Animal Buddies, the concept has been firmed up, over many years, and it's just that we've just gotten a few minor details to be sorted through, and it's again during this period, and it's just the right time to do it. Even after our parks are open, we are still operating under limited capacity, and not as many people can come to our park, and certainly for a big group of our regular visitors are school students, and it's not only until quite recently that school groups are allowed to come back to the outing. So that My Animal Buddies will certainly be very, very suitable for us to engage them. That's why we accelerated pushing out the program there. But the whole concept behind My Animal Buddy has been much more thought through over the years. The whole idea is that we want to be able to be making it very accessible, certainly for all the children in Singapore, and certainly quite possibly that we can reach out to transcend geographical border as well. So just sort of akin to Hello from the Wild side, and it's a variation of it, is more for the school group, the education programs. So, and we have a lot of education program as well, that our education team, once again during circuit breaker, they're working from home, and they have been delivering school classes virtually, and using some of the existing animal videos and continue to have this interaction with school classes as well.
Mm, mm, mm. So as you were talking about, My Animal Buddy being formulated, the idea of it being formulated quite long ago, it was, I'm sure, also formulated with some of the international crowd in mind. And the international demand was a very huge part of the wildlife reserve demand before COVID-19, I'm sure. So now that you had to launch for the domestic crowd, what considerations did you have in mind?
Right. Well, with the My Animal Buddy, we actually started out mainly just to serve the Singapore viewers. Because of the COVID-19, once again, when we started out, creating this program, including, mainly for Hello from the Wild side. And, the thing with the virtual program, once you created it, it actually transcends geographical barriers. So during this period and until now, we've not been having any overseas visitors, but in terms of engagement virtually, we're actually doing quite well with engaging overseas, I guess participants, if you like. So that was the general public. And the other thing that occurred during this period of time, once again, is just opportunity that occurred because our education content was so well, and for the longest time, our education focus has been on the local. Now that we have all of this education content, and with a very strong support of STB, we've actually hooked us up with one of the, it's called Ma Feng War, and it's one of the TripAdvisor equivalent in China, and we've been working with another company that is to do with this online education program. And since then, with just a few episodes of online education programs that's launched in China, we've actually been engaged with 22 million China students. So that was a huge numbers that we were not thinking of, when we launched it. So once again, these were great opportunities that has developed during this difficult time.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like, surprisingly, while you were trying to develop content to appeal to Singaporeans, you actually managed to reach out to a much wider global audience.
That is true. If you think about it, our core content is about animals, and then the appeal of animals is quite universal. And in working with our counterparts in China, it's very important that, we sort of created and piloted some programs that we think that, this is what the Singapore school students will require. And then we were actually being guided by the China educator counterpart to say that, look for the Chinese students and the parents that they actually would demand homework to be developed as part of the program, so that they actually want more, homework content. So that is, again, something that we learn as well. And, while the core content is quite similar, but I'm sure that for different international markets as we go along, that we will be able to tweak, to meet the local requirement as required.
It sounds like you are already in the midst of building up your international programs for when eventually international crowds do return to the wildlife parks. Is that something that we can look forward to?
Yes, on the longer term, when the travel, international travel is allowed, then hopefully people will think that, hey, Singapore, we've got these nice wildlife parks that they should visit as well. But certainly that is a good means for us to keep our name out there for people to be aware if they are not aware of our parks already.
Yeah. And I think it serves as also a strong indicator that this love for nature and wildlife is still a very strong point across the world.
Yes, and that goes to the core of our purpose, which is, to connect people with wildlife. And in the past, people will come to our parks, and actually, ultimately, we still want people to come to our park. But now it is good that with this virtual program, we can reach a wider audience, and we do hope that, many of these people that we reached virtually at some stage will have a chance to come and visit our parks. If not, then hopefully we would have reached them with the need to conserve nature's messages as well.
Yes. Well, as we look at the rest of 2021, can you give us a little glimpse into anything that your team is working on, any projects?
Well, apart from this, continue to refine many of our virtual programs, and we certainly have opened our parks, since towards the last quarter of last year, and then we are now operating under safe management procedures, and we've been getting very good support from the Singaporean visitors, and we're still continuing to be developing the physical offerings within our park, continue to be upgrading our, the exhibits in the park. We've continued to be bringing in new animals, and many of them are new species that have not been shown in Singapore before. These are very important that we can continue to engage and to share with Singaporeans that just coming to our park once is not enough, that there are new developments, new animals coming back in. So, and also very importantly, that one of the things that we found out that during COVID-19 period, because there is a limited in capacity, that on weekends, peak periods, that we are overbooked, we could not cater for enough people. So we have created a fair number of very special customized back of house tours, and this has turned out to be highly attractive as well. So once again, this is creating a very special engagement session for smaller group of people, which totally meet safe management measures, and we actually then will be able to engage people and giving them a much more involved, in-depth experience that people who normally come to our parks will not have been able to experience. So one of the things that we've done that's been very successful is that we actually have been tied up with a few local hotel chains. So some of these people, as part of their reward programs that that they've had with these hotels, because of limitation restriction in overseas travel, that now that they can't go overseas, but they can restrict, they can redeem the points by taking part in these special guided tours, which has gone down very well. And again, they come to our parks and taken to back of house tours, have very close interaction with animals, this time physical interaction with animals. And these back of house programs will be developing more and more to engage different segments of the community.
Can you maybe give us a bit of a description of this back of house tours? What do you treat your guests to?
There are a few of them. One of them that was about as long as 3 hours. It was very involved. We actually get the participants, I think 5 of them, get to actually meet 2 of my directors, the director of animal presentation, animal of zoology, just to say that, and they get taken to the back of house area and talk about, how we look after certain animals, and we talk about things like positive reinforcement training. We actually do a bit of a presentation. How is it that, we condition animals with reward? And then, this type of conditioning allow visitors to come up close to the animals, a very close encounter, but very importantly, this allow us to take care of the animals better. So it means that now that the animals are allow people to get very close to them, our vets, the animal carers, can examine them and do simple veterinary treatments without stressing out the animals, and also make it less dangerous for people as well. So that was what we do. We take care of the animals better, and it's good enrichment for the animals as well. And now that we have this back of house tours, it's also a very, very great experience for visitors to see that these are the things that we can do to look after the animals. And of course, from the visitor's point of view, that very close encounter session with animals, it is really, really a very memorable experience and meaningful as well.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing us and giving us our very own little peek behind the curtain at WRS. So that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much again, Dr. Cheng, for spending time with us today.
Nice talking to you, Pamela. And when you have a chance, please book yourself into one of these back of house tours as well, and being up close physically with the animals. Really a memorable experience.
I would love to. Thank you so much. And to our viewers, if you have an innovator that you would like to see featured on TTG Conversations Innovator Chat, please let us know as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a good day, everyone. Bye. Bye, Dr. Cheng.
Thank you. Bye.